連中ははじめ近くの山中に出現し、村中に出たようです。村人に接触して助けを求めようとしたのかもしれませんが、偵察車両の1台が逃走者の一部と R を発見、追跡。一時期 R と発信機は別行動しましたが、地図の山中で合流しました。
チリジリになったのが合流できたということ？
ええ。連中は逃走路について十分な打ち合わせをしてやがったんちゅうことでしょうな。山の中なら地の利があると踏んでやがるに違いない。ブッシュが深ければ武器の効果は激減する。あの空手野郎の考えそうなことですね。
Okonigi was determined to catch them this time. He kept saying how he was simply caught off guard before.
今度はもう逃がせないわよ。ひなみ沢でならともかく、沖宮に入られたらもうどうにもならない。
わかってます。向こうに地の利がある山中とあっちゃ、こちらも躊躇したらアウトです。
We're gonna burn the forest down.
全力投球でいきましょう。全般で包囲、圧殺します。聞こえてるな。こいつはサッカーだ。敵はゴールエリアに侵入してる。ゴールは沖宮だ。
And before they get there, we're gonna kill them all.
絶対に許すな。特にあの
Just like soccer.
あいつは許さねえ。俺の獲物だ。
Yeah, but this time, if the karate man beats me, I just want you guys to shoot him, okay?
絶対に仕留めてやる。
We're not gonna do that again.
大鳥了解。
ウグイス了解。ひばり了解。
白鷺了解。
行くぞ。こいつがしくじればうちらは積まれてゲームオーバーだ。
その通りよ。もう後がない。私も出て陣頭指揮を取るわ。富武はここに置いていっても大丈夫？
大丈夫ですんね。完全武装の保安隊員が8人もおりますんね。その倍の完全武装兵が来てもしのげます。
Do they have names? Because if none of them are named, they're gonna get squashed. If any of them are like named or important, then we might have a challenge.
それよりも問題なのはあの空手野郎です。奴を侮ることはできません。
The karate man, we can't deal with him. A security unit guarded the basement of the Irie Institute, which was the heart of the organization. Therefore, they were armed more heavily than anyone else in the Mountain Dogs. Okonigi's confidence in the security unit and his newfound obsession with defeating Akasaka made the diversionary plan a success. But at the same time, that meant the decoy club members would have to deal with the full force of the Mountain Dogs. I feel like Takano would be like, no, that's not enough. Keep at least 50 men here. The dogs' white vans ran through the village. I guess the plan's working out, just as they hoped. While they couldn't fire shots outside, all members were carrying stun guns that fired electric needles. While poor in range, they could subdue a target instantly. With the flip of a switch, they could change between merely stunning or killing their target. The perfect weapon for people like the Mountain Dogs. The band separated into groups and headed for the mountains. They were planning to surround their enemies and then smoke them out.
隊長、前半作戦開始位置に到着しました。
さすがに展開が早いぜ。サンサ、全般にありがたい訓示を頼みます。
高野よ、R だけは生かして捕らえること。他は殺してしまっても構わないわ。この山から逃がしてはダメ。この山で今日の戦いすべてに決着をつけるのよ。
ウグイス、ヒバリ、白鷺、山狩りを開始しろ。大鳥はゴールキーパーで予備兵力を務める。緊急展開が可能なように常時待機しろ。
大鳥7了解。
さあ、おっ始める。
The Mountain Dogs started marching, spread out in a line with a few meters between them. This mountainside was a savage land, where not even the villagers would dare tread. There were some trails, but no paved roads for human beings. It required an enormous amount of diligence and patience to hunt on a mountain like this. all the dogs were very nervous. They were told that most of their enemies were children, but that there were a few well-trained adults with them as well. In addition, they were supposedly quite heavily armed, and they knew the layout of the terrain quite well. It was obviously going to be a tough battle.
おこのぎ、山狩りってのは普通どのくらいの人数がいるの？
一概には言えませんが、多ければ多いほどいいでしょうな。山犬の人数じゃ全員集めても全く足りません。
でも向こうも少人数なんだからそう不利な条件じゃないで
That's
しょ。
what they want us to think.
ほらよく言うじゃない。守備を崩すには3倍の兵力がいるって。こっちはさらにその倍以上いるんだから。
まあ、数万の兵力の場合ならそういう数式になるでし
We
ょう。
have twice more than that on our side. So what do they have? Like 10 people? Like the kids? You know, the kids group? I'm guessing. I'm not going to sit there and actually count them all, but I'm going to guess it's about 10 people. We have twice more than thrice. So there's about 60 men looking for these kids, it looks like. Not that that's important. I just thought, it might be interesting to get an idea of what they're up against. And of course, the main fighting adults are actually gone, so it's really going to be about 60 people looking for about, like 6 kids or something, right? 7 kids? Something like that. It doesn't work in smaller scale battles. The U.S. Armed Forces proved that in the Vietnam War.
なら今回の山狩り、おこのぎはどれだけの兵力がいると見てるの？
何でもありってことでですか？
何でもありって意味がわからないけど。
Just answer the
どのくらい
question,
の適正
Okonagi.
な兵力なの？
今朝の政治的奇襲も含めて、向こうの指揮官は相当優秀です。そして、火器取り扱いのベテランが最低2、近接格闘のベテランが最低1。
そこまでは認めるけど、あとは所詮子供でしょ？
あとは子供のようですが、多分、地のりが十分な子供一人は、よく訓練された強襲偵察隊1個小隊に匹敵しますね。
That would be Satoko right there.
サンサが考えてますより、相当厄介な相手ですわ。
それを制圧するのに、
Okonagi's gonna be like,
どの程度の兵力が必要だっていうの？
have you seen the movie Home Alone? This is what we're about to be dealing with all of these traps Satoku's set up.
山岳歩兵が1個師団。ああ、師団ってのは山犬が3つ4つくっついて大隊。そいつがさらに3つ4つくっついて連隊。そいつがさらに3つ4つで師団ですね。
30倍の兵力が必要だというの？
もちろんそれだけじゃ足りません。砲兵陣地に要請して山ほどの事前砲撃が必要ですわ。航空支援が得られるならファントムにナパームも
Let's just burn down the whole
ばらまかせたい
mountain.
ところですね。
冗談じゃないわ。そんな兵力ここにはないわ。じゃあそれにはるかに満たない山犬で山狩りをしたらどうなるっていうの？
まあ楽じゃないでしょうな。
Okonagi laughed boldly. He said it wouldn't be easy, but he also seemed to be implying that he was the only one capable of doing it.
連中のテリトリーでしょうが、逃げ込んだのはついさっきです。陣地もなけりゃトラップ設置の暇もないはず。
Oh, that's where you're wrong.
地の利を生かすには時間が足りないはずです。
Mr. Kano listened to Okonagi's explanation. She felt a little anxious. When she pretended to be friendly with Satoko a long time ago, she used to tell Takano all about her mountain. Takano remembered how Satoko told her about all kinds of traps she'd set up, but she couldn't recall which mountain Satoko was talking about. There's a lot of them after
威張
all.
りより本部標的の一部を発見 R は視認できない 現在追跡中。
人質にできれば十分よ。R がいなくても捕らえて。
ウグイス、聞こえるか？近隣の班を応援に回して退路を立て。
ウグイス了解。バックアップする。
I just I like the idea of comparing it to Home Alone now and watching all these guys get like an anvil hit on their face, which of course doesn't kill them, or getting electrocuted by a doorknob or something, or whatever it was.
そりゃそうだよね。退路を断ちたいよね。
Some fallen trees were leaning against a much larger pine tree, forming a natural scaffold. A small hut made out of plywood had been built on top of them. It was one of Satoko's many secret bases. It was in a perfect spot, since Mion could see the foot in the mountain well.
すごいね。みーちゃんの予想通りだね。さて、我が部にどの程度叶うか、お手並みを拝見しようって。レナたち、勝てるかな？なーに言ってんだか。向こうの指揮官は無能だね。私たちを攻めるなら三角訓練を終了したベテラン歩兵が1個師団はいるね。それをせいぜい中隊規模でとはね。未熟にも程があるよ。さーて、何人が私たちを相手にしてこの山を無事に降
We
りられ
gotta
る
kill some men today.
クソだねー。ひばり4攻撃を受けた。クソ逃がすな。丸太を山ほど転がしてきやがった。ひばり6が捻挫で追撃不能。残りで追撃する。
逃がすなよ。追って追って追いまくれ。休ませるんじゃね
え。ひばり11トラップによる攻撃を受けた。ひばり12、13が多分脳震盪だ。あんなの当たりどころが悪かったら死んでるぞ。ひばり60トラップにやられた。
Jimmy's dead.
光線が足に絡まって脱出できない。ナイフじゃ切断できない。番線カッターを持ってきてくれ。
Chaotic radio transmissions came in, one after another. Obviously, Okonagi had been wrong about the mountain dogs being in an advantageous position.
ウグイス10より本部。クソったれが井戸を偽装した落とし穴だ。隊員2名が閉じ込められて救出不能。
I think he's dead.
応援を送れ。やべ。どうしたウグイス10。応答しろウグイス10。ウグイス10だ。やられた。俺を後ろから突き飛ばしやがった。ウグイス9から11は井戸内。健在なれど脱出不能。くそ。本部よりウグイスバックアップが奇襲を受けた。行動が読まれているぞ。注意しろ。
ウグイス1だ。聞いていいか。どうして動きが読まれるんだ。上空に無人機の影はないぞ。
ひばり1より本部追跡に失敗。
We're not gonna answer that.
見失った。
Presumably somebody, maybe Satoko's in the trees or something.
無理だ。この山トラップだらけだぞ。この距離を追うだけで何人負傷しちゃってんだ。
白鷺1より本部 R を含む数名を発見した。追跡している。至急応援を送れ。
連中め、かく乱してトラップで絡め取ろってんだな。白鷺は用心しろ。向こうはお前らをトラップ地帯におびき寄せるつもりだ。敵は各個に分散し、陽動と奇襲のゲリラ戦術で抵抗してくる気だ。高度だぞ。すでに他班でトラップとアンブッシュで負傷者が多発している。用心しろ。気合い入れてかかれ、白鷺1。ん？白鷺 1！
白鷺2より本部白鷺1がトラップに。誰か班長を吊るしてるロープを切れ。残りは追撃しろ。 R を逃がすな。
ウグイス1より本部ウグイス7たちが沈黙した。襲撃にあった可能性が否定できない。 応援を送る許可を。
白崎5、隊員3名が上空から降ってきたドラム缶の直撃を受けて混沌した。
Like an oil drum?
なんなんだここは。こんなのがまだまだあるってのか。
Can you imagine just the sheer number of traps? Like, because these weren't set up like today. These have been set up like over years. Can you imagine the sheer number of traps Satoko has set up like in this forest? It's probably like toxic sludge in like some of these trees just waiting to get dumped out.
ヒバリ13だ。やられて倒れてたようだ。今一人発見した。追跡する。やろう。よくもやってくれやがったな。
Make sure to fill up the comms with all of your taunting chat to them.
よせ、やめろヒバリ13。お前が一人で叶う相手じゃない。
I'm gonna murder these kids.
お兄さん、こちらですわよ。
クソガキが待ちやがれ。
Look at this guy. Skylark 13 chased Satoko with an enraged snarl on his face, but Satoko ran through the woods effortlessly. Small branches scratched his body all over, but he continued to chase Satoko. Satoko ran like the wind. To her, she was simply running in her own backyard. Who would get injured in a place like that? As Skylark 13 ran after her, he passed many mountain dogs who couldn't even move because of Satoko's traps. The more of his trap fellows he saw, the more he wasn't sure if the girl he was after was really a girl. She was just something that looked like one. He reached an area where logs were stacked up in piles. It seemed like the trees in the area were being chopped down. It was a rather strange scene. On his way there, Skylark 13 saw a member from a different unit hanging upside down from a tree, and he also saw feet sticking out of a pitfall. There was a member whose foot was tied to the root of a tree with a device that looked like a pair of handcuffs. He reached this area after seeing all of them. He suddenly started sweating all over his body, for Skylark 13 realized he had been lured into a trap. He had been caught in a snare. She had tricked him. The girl was standing in the middle of the open area, calmly balancing on a stump. She was simply looking at him. Crap, he thought she's trying to lure me in.
ヒバリ13だ。一人を広場みたいなところで追い詰めた。捕まえてやる。捕まえてやる。
こちらウグイス7。お、そいつは少女じゃない。少女の姿をした悪魔だ。そいつの後を追えば地獄まで誘い込まれるぞ。
本部よりヒバリ13。それで十分だ。応援を待て。今そこに最寄りの隊員を向かわせている。
No, I'm gonna get her. Just wait there, little girl.
どうなさいましたの？私を捕まえたければ、あともう10メートルくらいは歩く必要がございますわよ。
It was only 10 meters. If he walked about 10 meters, he could catch that bratty little girl. How many steps did he have to take to walk 10 meters? If he took 10 steps to walk 10 meters, that meant there would be 10 more chances of stepping on a trap. But it was only 10 steps. He can catch her after walking just 10 steps.
そう思いなら、まずは最初の一歩を踏み出してみればいいではございませんの。ほらほら。
How is he going to take his first step? I don't know why we're like breaking down this man's chance to get caught in a trap. Everyone else is like, oh, I fell into a hole. And it's like, how am I going to take these next 10 steps? That area with weeds looked suspicious. But the bare ground looked suspicious too. What if he jumped into a tree stump? No, that was what she wanted him to do. Cold sweat was dripping off of Skylark 13's body. He only needed to take 10 steps. So why was he so nervous about taking the first one?
ヒバリ13。切り株だ。よせヒバリ13。さっき根っこで足を縛られてたウグイス8だ。 切り株はきっと罠だ。辺りは切り株だらけというのがうさんくさい。聞こえるか、ひばり13。物資は危険だ。草むらは踏むな。むき出しの土もやばい。
Just don't step anywhere.
だね。どこを踏めばいいんだよ。空を飛んでけってのかよ。
まだいらっしゃいませんの？私退屈ですからそろそろ失礼しますわよ。
こちらすまきにされて転がっているウグイス9だ。今標的な一人にその頭を蹴られている。そこはトラップフィールドだと言ってるぞ。その待ち構えてる小娘の最高傑作が設置されているらしい。油断するな。
You've got to be kidding me. Did he say magnum opus? We don't even know who this guy is. I don't know why he's getting all the screen time. What does he mean by magnum opus? Then what about all the other traps? Weren't they her magnum opus? The mountain dogs are professionals. We're paid to engage in battle. You know, honestly, we're far enough away. Just get the gun out and shoot her. Like, just be done with it. If this little girl is playing us like fools, can we not beat her? Can we beat that brat? This must be a bluff. How is it possible for a trap to exist? That's worse than what I've seen so far. That's a bluff. That must be a bluff. Now I'm definitely going to get her. Should I start with my right foot or my left? The girl suddenly lifted her hand and thrust it at me. Is she trying to tell me to stop?
ゴホですわ。
何？
何事もなくゴホを無事に歩けたらあなたの勝利ということでいいですわよ。
ほほう、それは大した自信じゃねえか。もし俺が5歩何もなく歩けたらどうするつもりだ？
そうですわね。私の敗北を認めて降参して差し上げてもよろしくってよ。私今日は最高にトラップ脳が絶好調ですの。あなたを5歩で絡め取ってご覧に入れますわ。
クソガキ！
落ち着けひばり13。挑発に乗るな。そいつは悪魔だ。外見に騙されるな。そいつは人の心を読むぞ。俺たちの叶う相手じゃねえ。
本部よりひばり13、深追いするな。十分だ。近くまでウグイスが応援に来ている。その場で耐えろ。
それじゃ俺の負けってことじゃねえかよ。
I can't lose to a kid.
こうだとくそ、乗ってやるぜ。5歩だな。たったの5歩だな。
男が何度もくどいですわね。愛のささやき以外は男は一言で十分ですのよ。
このガキ
And Skylark 13 is gonna like turn into one of our new main characters for the next chapter.
ひばり13、読まれるぞ。劇場は思考を読まれるぞ。
落ち着け。そうさ。
That's right, I'm Skylark 13.
ミントみたいにクールなのが遠いさ。だから熱くならずによく考えろ。そうさ、俺の思考はすでに絡め取られていた。奴に向かって5歩進まなければならないって時点で思考を絡め取られてたぜ。
ほほう、それはどういう意味でございますの？
This is what it means.
ないじゃねえ。後ろに5歩歩くんだよ。
I did it. I did it. I was certain it was a trick. If I take 5 steps, I win. She didn't say I had to move forward. I can go backwards too.
だからあなたは5歩でおしまいなんですのよ。
No, it's a drum.
ひばり13沈黙。
あのバカ、すっかり乗せられやがって。
Satoko's remarkable performance wasn't just her own effort alone. Mion had mastered the geography and the enemy's formations while instructing Satoko. Satoko marked all of her traps on the map. When that map and Mion's ability to command combined, the club was simply unbeatable. Rika and Hanyu, who knew about the mountain almost as well as Satoko, relayed orders from Mion to Keiichi or Rina, and they prepared for the ambush. The traps didn't always activate when they were stepped on. Sometimes Keiichi and the others were setting them off at the right moment. Keiichi and Rina continued to fight everywhere, according to Mion's orders. Sometimes they'd hide, sometimes they'd attack. One by one, they eliminated their enemies. Just monkeys crawling in trees. Satoko's traps had been taking down most of the enemies, but Keiichi's surprise attacks with his bat had worked. Keiichi just murdered a man with a bat. Attacks with his bat had worked out successfully too. Not even the well-trained mountain dogs could respond to attacks after being stunned by these traps. Humans need a little time to react. According to the research done by the US Armed Forces, the average reaction time is 15 seconds. In other words, any soldier is powerless during the 15 seconds following a surprise attack. Shortening those 15 seconds is one goal of their training. But no matter how much they train, it will never become zero. Their radio communications had actually made things much worse for them. The more they heard about damage done to the other units, the more worried they got. That slowed them down and made them think less strategically. At that point, whoa. I don't know what button I just pressed. One of the F keys, I think. At that point, as far as Mion was concerned, the mountain dogs were no longer a force to be reckoned with.
ケイチは大成功しましたです。仲良くスマキにしてニパーなのです。はあ、サトコの方もうまくいったようなのです。
I like this music track. I don't know if we've heard this one before.
みんなやっつけてしまいましたです。
了解。
Honestly, it feels like a lot of the Mountain Dogs members aren't that good. Like, obviously, Okonigi's really good, and Mion seems pretty decent. Although, we haven't really seen her fighting a ton, but, you know, she seems alright. But the rest of these Mountain Dogs, you know, I mean, I guess they're professional soldiers, but they're not like elite soldiers. They're like soldiers that are being paid to be soldiers. And I guess they're probably better at it than the average person.
確認するけど、この攻撃での戦果は5だね。どうするよ敵さん。南部方面軍はこれで戦力の3割は脱落だよ。負傷者の対応に通常1人から2人。ってことは手の空いた兵士はほとんどいないってわけだ。まっとうな指揮官なら本部に撤退を申し入れるね。
こちらひばり湾、隊員に負傷者多数。負傷者への対応で追撃に手が回らない。これ以上の追撃は断念せざるを得ない。
ひばり湾、損害は大きいが我が方は確実に敵の行動権を狭めているぞ。撤退は認めない。現状兵力で戦線を維持せよ。
くそー、ひばり湾より全員本部から死ねと命令だ。装備を再点検しろ。進軍を再開するぞ。
でも高野さんたちは頭に血が上ってるからそれを許可しない。指揮官は撤退を却下され、士気が低下したまま追撃を再開。こいつは叩く絶好のチャンスだね。リカちゃん、レナと合流して Z 地区に誘い込んで。
Not Section Z.
あそこのトラップはだいぶごっついよ。羽生はケイちゃんに X 地区に転戦しろと連絡。
Alright, you've been ordered to shoot these kids.
こんな面白いゲームはないね。
They start taunting at you, just get your gun out and shoot them. We'll cover up the situation later.
ミオンが絶好調なのです。今のミーが生まれる時代を間違えていたら歴史に名を残しかねないのです。
私に言わしゃネルソンも東郷もまあまあってとこだね。もう裏山全体が手に取るようだよ。
Mion was the type to display exponential ability. When she's down, she's at rock bottom. But when she's in perfect form, it's just terrifying. That was the blood of the head of one of the 3 families of Hinamizawa. If Mion had been around for a historical battle, she would have changed history. If she were to join Napoleon, all of Eurasia would be French territory. If she'd lived in the same area as Genghis Khan, even his great conquest would have inevitably failed. And even with all of that, the battle in the mountains was simply a diversion. Just as Mion had expected, everything had collapsed into chaos. If the mountain dogs could think calmly, they could have realized they hadn't seen any adults. But they didn't notice, confused as they were by all the attacks they were suffering. Of course, that too was part of Mion's plan. The scale of the diversion would hide the fact that there was a rescue unit going to get Tomitake. The more chaotic the battle grew on the mountain, the better it was for the rescue unit. That was why she chose such an ostentatious method of fighting. But at the same time, that was exactly the kind of fight Mion preferred. She didn't intend to let it just be a diversion. She was planning to destroy the dog's main force in these mountains. Yet, most frightening of all was our home advantage. It wasn't exaggerating to say the theory that the defenders have thrice the advantage over assailants is heavily due to their advantage of location. In that case, how was the rescue unit doing? Were they at a disadvantage because they were on the offense?